All right, guys, welcome back to my channel, Fear the North Bend. I apologize. I've been battling some sickness, and if I sound like I'm chewing glass, that's the reason why. I was sick last week. I missed that motivational video, that midweek hump day. I'm going to try to make up for it this week. As I said last week, though, in Monday's episode, again, Monday, we're talking about money, money management, entrepreneurship, how to succeed, how to make your money work harder for you. Revisited the budget. I felt like that was important to really give the budget the time that it deserves. I wanted to make sure that I touched on these basic concepts because those basic concepts are really important. We have to have the fundamentals down before we move to the higher levels of thought concerning money and life in general. But really, the hope for this channel is that we can really talk more and that I can help motivate you as others motivate me to really feel like we can win and succeed in the game of life concerning our business, our work, and our money. And today's episode is really geared towards that. As I said in last week's episode, talking about the budget, I'm going to present today what I believe is the best way to pay those monthly expenses. And what I'm about to say is probably going to frustrate a lot of people who have listened to Dave Ramsey. There's been guys like Dave Ramsey who have put out a certain concept concerning the mechanism that I'm going to talk about to paying your expenses. And concerning that tool, Dave Ramsey's 100% wrong. And that tool is actually credit cards. All at once, the Dave Ramsey people throw their phone down and set it on fire. The fact of the matter is, credit cards have been sold as this slippery slope that's akin to temptation. Or it's been sold in a way where it's like the Ring of Sauron, like you cannot wield it. It's insane. A credit card is an inanimate object that can do nothing without the influence of a person. It's nothing. It's a piece of plastic or a piece of tin, depending on what type of card you have. So, and what I wanted to touch on today is that really, because of the negative sort of sales pitch or campaign about credit cards, a lot of us have missed out on the usefulness that a credit card is for just paying our expenses. I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. We all work really hard for our money, whatever it is we do. Whether you have a desk job, you're in data analytics, you're in sales, maybe you're like my wife, she's an auditor for a successful medical device company, or you're like me, I have a business, I'm going out to tear down a shed today and haul it away. It's a very physical job. Whatever it is we do, we work hard for our money. It requires that we be away from those that we love or doing probably the things that we'd rather do for 5, 8, 10 hours a day, whatever our schedule is. And we all work really hard for it. And the concept that I want to pitch to you today when I talk about credit cards is we work really hard for our money, so then our money should work as hard for us as we work for it, or at least close to it. Right? It doesn't make sense that we spend all this time away from our family and friends to acquire this tool that pays our expenses and hopefully allows us to enjoy life and fund retirement and build wealth and build financial legacy. But it doesn't make sense that we spend all this time away from those that we love and what we want to do for our money to do the minimal amount of effort or give a minimal amount of effort for us when we're putting all this effort, all this time, and all this stress into it. And that brings me to the point of the credit card. Using a credit card to pay your monthly expenses is one of the easiest things you can do to increase the usefulness and effectiveness of your money. Fact. Boom. That could be the video. We're done. Good news for you. I'm going to keep going. Using a credit card, guys, is so simple to pay your monthly expenses. Okay? It's very easy. Now I'm going to break it down. It's going to be probably overly simplistic, but I think it will help you understand. I'm going to jump out of the shot here real quick. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. But as you can see, we're at the end of this loaf of bread here, where there's really not a lot of bread left. At one point, it was a full loaf of bread. Please imagine that this is a loaf of bread. Let's say this loaf of bread costs $1.50. I don't know what the price of a loaf of bread is. Let's not be overly specific. This is for the purpose of discussion. But I have a loaf of bread. I go to a grocery store. I spend $1.50 plus tax to buy this loaf of bread. Now that transaction has value because my family and I, we need to eat, we need sustenance. And through giving my cash, I can get a loaf of bread that allows me and my family to eat. So that transaction does have value. However, that transaction has a lower value than one that's available to us, okay? Again, $1.50 plus tax, get the loaf of bread, we need it, that's good. On the other hand, if we use a credit card to purchase said same loaf of bread, did I say that right? If we use a credit card to purchase the same loaf of bread, we not only get the loaf of bread, which as we would if we used our cash, but now with a credit card, we get the loaf of bread plus we get the points. Loaf of bread plus we get the points and or cash back depending on the type of credit card you have. I'm going to go into that in a later video. I'm not really going to touch on that today. And we get to build credit. Now, those are the three services that we get. Now, what really makes this even better, it's not even the best part of this, but what makes this three even better is that you actually get to do this at a 0% interest rate. Most credit cards have a 25 to 30 day 0% interest rate. I'm going to go into credit cards later and really explain what they are. They're actually a wonderful tool for us as consumers and the middle class, upper middle class, wealthy, and even the working poor because of what it does for us and just the nature of what a credit card is. But 25 to 30 days, it's all 0% interest. So that's fantastic. Now, obviously, we all know that after the 30 days, or we all know about the 25 to 30% interest rate. You don't want to be on the other side of that. That's pretty brutal. But disregarding just the 0%, which is pretty amazing, you still get the loaf of bread, the cash back, and or the points, and you build your credit. It's a better transaction. I'm going to ask you a simple question. Would you rather purchase your money and get one thing, or would you rather use your money to purchase an item and only get one thing, or use your money to purchase an item and get three things, or three services? I think the answer is pretty self-explanatory. More of something for less is probably the better deal, right? That same concept, guys, goes into paying our monthly expenses, our water expense, our gas, our electricity, cell phone, whatever the case may be. When you use a credit card to pay those monthly expenses that you have to pay anyways, your money's working harder for you. It's doing more for you. Now, please don't misunderstand. I'm not telling you, ladies, to go to Target and blow your credit card up at all the sales or American Eagle, whatever the case may be. Guys, I'm not telling you to go to the gun store and pick up, if you're like me, and pick up the Smith & Wesson Performance Center revolver that's $1,500. It's probably a great gun, but it's not worth the 30% interest rate. Smith & Wesson may think it is, but I promise you that it's not. What I'm talking about is using the tool that is a credit card to pay only those expenses that you have to. Now, if you want to put a trip on a credit card, I'd encourage you to have the cash to pay that trip in full, put it on the credit card, and then put that cash on the credit card, because then you're still getting the same benefits, credit, the trip, and either the cash back or the points. But for the purpose of today, really I want you to focus on using a credit card to just pay those items you have to. Those items throughout the month that you have to pay anyways, because if you don't, your lights are going to get turned off, your water's going to get turned off, you're not going to be able to eat, whatever the case may be. You're not going to be able to drive your car because it won't have gas in it. Those things that you have to spend your money on. Why not spend your money on it in such a way where your money is going to work harder for you? I mean, if you can't avoid it, right? And as yet, I don't know anyone who can avoid paying a water expense. There's probably some guy out in the sticks who's found a way to tap into a natural water well or whatever and avoid it. I haven't. You probably haven't either. So those items that you can't avoid, why not use them to make your money work as hard for you as possible? Again, you work too hard. I work too hard for my money. You work too hard for your money for it not to work as hard for you as you work for it. It's that simple. And using a credit card is a very easy way to make that happen, okay? So what I would encourage you to do is, as we talked about last week, write your budget out and then find out which of those items you can use a credit card to pay. Now, there is a downside to it. Nothing's perfect. The great Thomas Sowell said, there's no perfect solution, there's just trade-offs. When you use a credit card to pay items like the light expense, the water expense, if you have propane or gas, whatever the case may be, the credit card company charges a percentage to the vendor that you're spending your money with or spending your credit with. Many times those utility companies, they will actually charge you that fee. It's called a convenience fee. It's typically about $1.50. So technically, if I'm being honest and transparent, technically it is going to be more expensive for you to use your credit card. It's nominal, but it's going to be more expensive. And I want to make sure you understand that, because it really needs to be framed in your mind, everything that's going on. You know, because you don't want to use your credit card and you're like, well, he didn't tell me about the $1.50. This is terrible. Wow. It's really not. It's a nominal fee for your money to work harder for you. But technically, it is more expensive. In my opinion, though, it's a cost that's well worth the utility and the freedom and really just the maximizing of your dollars. It's really well worth it, because not only, again, do you get, touching back on, you get the credit, you get the item, and you get the cash back or points, you also get something that I think is even more valuable than all of it. It's really the cherry on top of this wonderful sundae of making your money work harder for you. When you pay your monthly expenses with a credit card, you can pay them, either they auto bill a credit card, or you can pay them in the first week of the month. And then what that does is it turns the credit card, stick with me here, into almost like a mule, where you saddle that mule with all of your monthly expenses for the month, and that credit card carries that for you, so that you have all month long to build up all the money in your checking account stress-free. How many of us, and I'm about to tell you our story, how many of us have missed a bill or been under the gun to pay a bill, to pay an expense on time or early? We have. I got to be honest with you. My wife and I are very successful. I'm an entrepreneur. She does great with her company. We missed our water bill for 2 months in a row. We just lost track of it. It was pretty brutal. Trust me when I tell you, we paid a pretty high fee when we had to pay it. But the fact of the matter is, we've all been there. We've all been in a situation where we missed a bill or missed an expense. I apologize. I'm still doing it too. Where we missed an expense because of whatever the case may be. Life, kids, stress, work, tragedy in the family, whatever the case may be. We've all been there. It's all part of just the day-to-day stuff. And you know as well as I do that when you're paying your expenses out of your checking account or with cash or debit card, whatever the case may be, by paying an expense late through your checking account or your debit card, that's really one of the same. Your debit card acts as a portal to your checking account. We'll talk about that later. When you pay an expense late, many times, especially throughout the month, so you got to have money in your account on the day when the expense is due, it can create a stressful situation, because if you don't have it, now you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna pay this late fee. Man, that sucks, but I'm gonna, whatever, I gotta have my lights on, whatever the case may be. Or, you set up auto bill pay or auto withdrawal, and they go to take that money out, it isn't there, and then you overdraft. And it just creates stress, and it creates a situation where you have to have money in your account when they say. And by they, I mean the utility companies, multinational companies, our politicians. I'm going to jump back real quick. This video is going to be kind of all over the place. I apologize. One of the benefits, and I'm going to touch on it again at the end of what I was just saying, but one of the benefits to using a credit card is that it really does take the stress off of you monthly. And I know I was talking about that, but I want to touch on this real quick. When we are not stressed about our money, when we as the wealthy, the upper middle class, lower middle class, the working poor and the poor, when we aren't stressed about money, obviously the poor folks are stressed, but when we aren't stressed about our money, it allows us to think more clearly about greater concepts. I said it in one of my videos already. You can't ponder the stars if you're starving to eat and struggling to keep your lights on. You can't think about the higher things of life, the higher things of reality, because you're literally in survival mode. Your back's against the wall. And I personally think, I'm going to get into this in some of this stuff later. I'm going to put my Alex Jones hat on here, if you will. I personally think that multinational companies, national companies, multinational banks, a lot of our politicians, they really prefer that our back be against the wall monetarily. Because when our back's against the wall monetarily, and we're stressed and we're scared and we're in survival mode, we're probably spending our money the way they want us to, as opposed to what's right for us. So by creating or using mechanisms that take the stress off of us monthly and take just the pressure off of us monthly, it allows us, I believe, to think more clearly and be more confident. So I'm going to get into a video later about all that stuff. I just wanted to touch on it real quick. But getting back to what I said, you can use a credit card to pay those expenses and use it like a mule, saddle that mule up. Now it's carrying it for you. You don't have to worry about overdrafting your account. You don't have to worry about having to have money in your checking account at a specific time, at a specific day for the purpose of paying that expense. They're already paid. You can pay everything in the first week of the month if you want to, and or have them auto bill the credit card. Here's a story for you about Valerie and I. Early on in our marriage, we had bought a house. We had just had our daughter Vivian, and at the time I wasn't very handy. I've since gathered those skills, and that's a lot of what my business is. But our sink had flooded. It was really bad. We needed diapers, and we didn't have any money in our checking account. And in that moment, my wife just had a baby. She works hard for her money. We're in this house. Her husband at that point is useless in the ways of handyman. But she literally broke down and started crying, and I can understand why. In that moment, too, fear gripped me as well. I was like, oh my God, we need something, and we don't have the money to do it. But it was in that moment that I realized I'm never going to be in this position again. I'm never going to be in a position where my wife and my child need something, and we can't get it because we don't have money in our account. For whatever reason, bad budgeting, we haven't built up the savings yet, whatever the case may be. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow this notion of I got to pay people when they tell me to, and or credit cards are the devil. I'm not going to allow these fraudulent notions to keep my family from a stress-free life or just a low-stress life by not using a credit card. That's utterly foolish. It was in that moment, we went out and we got what we needed with the credit card. The next month, I believe, we started paying our expenses with a credit card. Valerie burst in the door about a week and a half into that month. Zach, we haven't paid bills yet. I said, yeah, we did. We were still using bills at that time. And as you can see throughout this video, sometimes I still say the word, I apologize. I said, yeah, we did, we're fine. She goes, what are you talking about? I said, we already paid everything. Because what we had done is we had accumulated the expenses from the previous month, put it in a folder, and just literally in that first week of the following month, we just paid them all. I said, yeah, they're already paid for. They're all on the credit card. And it was in that moment, we've all had that light bulb moment. Some of us have seen it in others, where she goes, oh, I get it now. All of the stress and pressure about having to do something at a specific time concerning our money was now gone. We didn't need to have $150 in our checking account for the purpose of paying the lights. It was already paid. On top of that, we were building credit, we were getting points, and it was all at a 0% interest rate for 30 days. It was just a better way for us to function. And from there, it set the course of how we manage our money and how our money works harder for us. Not, please don't misunderstand me again. Don't go out and blow your money, or rather, don't go out and blow up your credit card on those items that you don't need. That's an inappropriate way to use the credit card. The credit card is like your cash. It's a tool. That's simply what it is. Make it work as hard for you as it possibly can. But I'm telling you right now, try this for a month or 2 months. Try paying your monthly expenses with a credit card. It will change your life. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it's true. It will change your life. The stress will plummet. Your money will work harder for you. You will feel, I promise you, because this is true of my wife and I, you'll actually be excited about paying your monthly expenses because your money's working harder for you. And again, you pay those expenses at the first week of the month, boom, it's over. You don't have to think about it anymore. You have the entire month to money up in your checking account. And then this is probably the last thing that makes really using a credit card to pay your monthly expenses so great is that you take all of these expenses, whether that's 10 expenses or 5, whatever the case may be, you take all 10 or 5, and for the most part, you roll them into one payment. That's all 0% interest within that 25 to 30-day window, depending on the credit card that you use. You roll all of these expenses into one payment, so it's easier for you to pay. And at the end of the month, you've had, if both of you work, if you're married or you're single, whatever the case may be, if you have a partner with you, however that goes, if you have 4 checks coming in, it gives you all month long to get all 4 paychecks into your account so that you can then pay off that credit card. Then whatever's left over is yours. Invest for retirement, go out and blow it on yourself, have a great time, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter, but it's a simpler, easier way to manage your finances while simultaneously causing your money to work harder for you. Guys, I'm telling you, it changed mine and Valerie's life, and it will change yours. There are some downsides. It is more expensive. You're going to be charged a fee. It's nominal. It's also going to be easier for you to say, hey, let's just put it on the card. Woo! I would strongly encourage you to not allow that reason to deter you from using a mechanism like a credit card that can make your money work harder for you. Credit cards have been billed as this terrible thing. It's us, guys. We are the ones that don't spend our money right. We're the ones that don't budget. We're the ones that go out and just swipe credit cards crazy. The credit card is nothing. It's a piece of plastic. It can't do anything without you and I influencing it. Fact. I challenge you, go to a higher level with your thinking about money and use a tool that can cause your money to work exponentially harder for you. It will change your life. It really will. It's an extremely powerful tool. It can do great things for you. Just to recap, cash, loaf of bread, that's all you get. Use a credit card, loaf of bread, credit, you get the points and or cash back. You get it 0% interest, and then on top of that, it's stress-free. You have everything you need for the month. Guys, it's one of those things where, and I know this sounds kind of hokey because a lot of people say this, but you can't really get it until you experience it. You can't really get the power of it and the comfort of positioning yourself to where everything's paid for in the first week of the month until you experience it. It's shocking how much it'll change your life. Don't allow yourself to believe the lie that this credit card is somehow this tempting tool of evil that's going to plunge you into debt. That's all crazy. It's up to you. You can either soar with the eagles and think higher thoughts and really manage yourself and push yourself to the best that you can be, or you can be, down on the ground with the chickens. It's up to you. Red Auerbach said, the great coach for the Celtics, it's a hilarious video back in the day. I think it was like in the 50s or 60s. But he said, you can't soar with the eagles in the morning if you hoot with the owls at night. Kind of a ridiculous saying, but it's true. And really, it really talks about, when he says that, he's talking about managing his time and really managing yourself and not going out and partying and being wild, but really focusing on a goal. It's the same thing concerning your expenses and thinking about how better to pay them to make your money work harder for you. I challenge you with this. Give it a shot. Try it. See, and it may not work for you. It probably will. I think it'll change your life financially. But give it a shot. It will cause you to have lower stress. You'll feel more confident. You'll feel more powerful. And again, everything is about up here, guys. If we can think better thoughts and feel better thoughts, we're probably going to feel and make and think better decisions and better thoughts. It's just the way we are. It's how God or evolution, whatever you think, it's how we're made. It's how we're built. If we think and feel better, we will probably do better. Give it a shot. I think it'll work for you. I'm super pumped for Wednesday. I'm going to make up for missing last Wednesday's video. Thanks for coming back. If you liked the content, what's going on here, please like, please share, please subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. Let's go.